The convicted Russian arms dealer, Moscow had wanted to potentially have an exchange for Vadim.
Russia has freed WNBA star Brittney Griner in a dramatic high-level prisoner exchange with the U.S., releasing notorious Russian arms dealer Victor Bout. Griner's return to the United States caps a months-long saga that began in February when she was detained at a Moscow airport after Russian authorities said they found vape canisters with cannabis.
Moments ago, standing together with her wife Sherelle in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances, Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hard-working public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release. I also want to thank the UAE for helping us facilitate Brittney's return, because that's where she landed. These past few months have been hell for Brittney and for Charlie and her entire family and all her teammates back home. People all across the country have learned about Brittney's story, advocated for her release, stood with her throughout this terrible ordeal. And I know that support meant a lot to her family. I'm glad to be able to say that Brittney's in good spirits. She's relieved to finally be heading home. And the fact remains that she's lost months of her life, experienced a needless trauma, and she deserves space, privacy, and time with her loved ones to recover and heal from her time being wrongfully detained. Brittney is an incomparable athlete, a two-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA. She endured mistreatment and a show trial in Russia with characteristic grit and incredible dignity. She represents the best about America, just across the board, everything about her. She wrote to me back in July. She didn't ask for special treatment, even though we've been working on a release from the day one. She requested a simple quote, "Please don't forget about me and the other American detainees. Please do all you can to bring us home." We never forgot about Brittney. We've not forgotten about Paul Whelan, who's been unjustly detained in Russia for years. This was not a choice of which American to bring home. We brought home Trevor Reed when we had a chance early this year. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up. We remain in close touch with Paul's family, the Whelan family, and my thoughts and prayers are with them today. They have to have such mixed emotions today. And we'll keep negotiating in good faith for Paul's release. I guarantee that. I say that to the family. I guarantee you. And I urge Russia to do the same to ensure that Paul's health and humane treatment maintained until we are able to bring him home. I don't want any American to sit wrongfully detained and one extra day if we can bring that person home. My administration has now brought home dozens of Americans who were wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad, many of whom had been held since before I took office. And today, we also remember the other Americans that are being held hostage and wrongfully detained in Russia or anywhere else. I invite Sherelle to say a few words to you all. Of course, she's not excited at all about this. Sherelle, it's all yours, kiddo. Congratulations again.
Thank you. So over the last 9 months, you all have been so privy to one of the darkest moments of my life. And so today I'm just standing here overwhelmed with emotions, but the most important emotion that I have right now is just sincere gratitude for President Biden and his entire administration. He just mentioned this work is not easy, and it has not been. There's been so many hands involved, and so I'd like to take a moment to just specifically mention a few. Vice President Harris, Secretary Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Josh Geltzer from the National Security Council, Roger Cartson and Fletcher, Schoen from the Hostage Envoy's Office. A special thank you to Governor Richardson and Mickey, the Mercury Players, the WNBA for your advocacy, And also, you guys may not know this, but my family has been tremendously supported by the Wasserman Agency. BG's agent, Lindsay Colas, has just been amazing for me and my family throughout this process. So today my family is whole, but as you all are aware, there's so many other families who are not whole. And so BG's not here to say this, but I will gladly speak on her behalf and say that BG and I will remain committed to the work of getting every American home, including Paul, whose family is in our hearts today. As we celebrate BG being home, we do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones. So thank you everybody for your support. And today it's just a happy day for me and my family. So I'm gonna smile right now.
U.S. women's basketball star Brittney Griner is returning to the U.S. after months in Russian custody. We heard live in that news conference just a few minutes ago from the U.S. president at the White House, Griner flying home after a prisoner swap between Washington and Moscow. You'll certainly remember the story. It goes back to February. She was sent to a Russian penal colony after pleading guilty to drug charges in a trial that made headlines around the world. She had been held since last February when she was arrested at an airport in Russia. She plays basketball there in the off-season for the WNBA. In exchange, the U.S. is sending Russia a notorious arms dealer, once dubbed the Merchant of Death. Let's bring in Magda Gabriselassie, who's in our bureau in Washington. She, too, watching that announcement from the U.S. president after months of negotiation. Magda, what has happened for Brittney Griner today?
Well, we heard from President Joe Biden that they have cut a deal to swap her for that arms dealer, and she is now out. He said she is safe. She is in good spirits, he said, because he got a chance to actually speak to her on the phone. And now she is on a plane heading back home to be reunited with her family. And of course, it has been months. As you said, she's been in Russian prisons since February, and there has been talks of trying to work out some sort of deal to get her out and to swap her possibly for someone else. And we know now that she has been swapped for this arms dealer. Now, this really brings a nightmare to an end for Griner and for her family. They've been fighting and pushing U.S. officials to get a deal done to bring her home, and now it's actually happening. So take a listen to what President Joe Biden had to say.
This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hardworking public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release.
Now, all along, U.S. officials have said that she was being wrongfully detained. We heard Biden say in that press conference that her trial was a show trial, and now it has all come to an end. She's on her way home. We heard from her wife, Sherelle, who was there, and she said that her family is now whole and she can now smile, and hopefully soon the two of them will be reunited.
Magda, as Brittney Griner's family celebrates this for the holiday season, of course, there is a family that has been told very bad news that their family member is still being detained. That's Paul Whelan, and he really was in the backdrop to all of this joyous news about Brittney Griner. Remind us of his story. We got a statement from his brother, not begrudging Brittney Griner's release, but still trying to bring his particular case to the fore. So where does that stand?
Yeah, Paul Whelan has been in Russian prisons for years. He's been fighting, his family's been fighting to bring him home, to have U.S. officials, carry out a similar deal. And they had hope because recently we've heard several U.S. officials say that they were working or hoping to bring Brittney Griner home, but as well Paul Whelan home as well. But in this deal, he has not been included. And we heard